All right, what's up, guys? Dr. Matt here with the Performance Advantage podcast, and today we're going to talk about traveling. So both Will and I, we've traveled a lot to different events, both within our own country and international, and we have a lot of tips that we've learned over the years. So today we're going to talk mainly about trying to stay organized, saving energy, and not stressing yourself out. So it comes down to what to pack, eating and drinking. You know, we don't want to get dehydrated, and we also don't want to annoy the person next to us when we're getting up to take a leak all the time during our flight. We're going to talk about sleeping because jet lag sucks and it's really hard to get over, and it can affect you in the long run, so we want to get over that as soon as possible. And we're going to talk about being flexible when we're traveling because there's going to be something that goes wrong every time, but we need to work the problem and get through it and focus on what really matters. So we start the podcast today with talking about what we've been up to, and then Dr. Will gets into his new watch. He talked about a watch before, but he's got an even newer one, an even cooler one, and it has way better features. So thanks for listening.
Hey guys, so I just got the new Garmin 245. It just came out a couple weeks ago. Locally, Rebel Sport had a massive 25% off sale, so I swooped in because otherwise it's super hard to get Garmin on special. The way Garmin works with their international price fixing is that you can only put Garmin on sale if your entire store is on sale, or if Garmin specifically tell you that they're running a special. So with Rebel Sport, they had a 25% off sale store-wide, so I was able to swoop in, get the latest Garmin 245 for a great price. Anyway, I got the 245, and that's coming from the 935, which was their premium sports watch. And I went for the 245 over the 645 and the 945 for a couple of key reasons. So what I look for when I'm getting a new sports watch, GPS gadget, I want to look at the battery life, functionality with different add-ons or sensors. So in this case, like extra heart rate monitors and the Stride running power meter, and then also now advanced tracking. So the 245 has an amazing battery life, 24 hours on like low grade GPS mode, or 14 hours on like best GPS mode, and it also has a pulse oximeter. This is what I'm really excited about because the 645 and all the previous versions of Garmin don't have a pulse oximeter. So this is going to give you far better analytics in terms of sleeping, heart rate variability, and that leads into their body battery. So they have this cool feature where you're able, if you are someone who wears your watch a lot, you can track your energy, I guess daily energy and stress based off of your heart rate variability, which is the beat-to-beat variation, which measures difference is in like the input of parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems. Anyway, it tracks all of that stuff to give you like your body battery to see how much you're declining. So then integrating that with how much you're sleeping, how well you're sleeping with the advanced sleeping metrics, it's really, really cool feature that this watch has outside of just your general training to show you how are you responding to different stresses outside of training. So this is the first time really that a watch has been able to give you that next level of input, because Matt and I on previous episodes we talked about it's not just training stress, it's life stress that can sometimes tip you over the edge. So now the 245 and the 945 have these advanced analytics in it. The 945 is like more probably if you're a triathlete, because it's got a lot of add-on features like you can use power meters and it's got multi-sport functions, whereas the 245 at half the price of the 945 has all the same features. It just doesn't have as many add-ons and the crazy battery life of the 945. So that's my new watch. That's what I look for in watches, and thought that would be helpful. So we'll kick back into the traveling. All right, Matt, welcome to episode 17 of the Performance Advantage podcast. Today we're talking traveling.
I mean, it's really relevant for me because I just got back yesterday from a month in North America. So when we were talking about what to do for the podcast, I was like, well, how about traveling? Because I'm really jet lagged and, that's on my mind. But it was really surprising. Like, I always think about it, just the number of people that are traveling. Like they're not all traveling for sport, obviously, but you do see like, when we arrived, there were lots of people picking up their bikes and stuff. So obviously, they have sport on the mind. But there are just a lot of people traveling. It's such easy access. When we pay $1,000 for a flight, like that's just, there's just another cost to do what we want to do. So people love it.
Yeah, one thing I think about when you say there's a lot of people traveling, so there may be a couple hundred people on an aeroplane, overseas flight. And I think about, imagine if you got all those 200 people just in a normal situation and sat them that close to each other for half the day, for 12 hours. Everyone would be like, that is so weird. I'm not sitting that close to someone for 12 hours.
Yeah.
But we just do it.
Yeah, you have to. I honestly, I have a love-hate relationship with traveling. Like, I love being somewhere new. And I like, I hate flights, though, but then I also love them. It's really weird. Yeah. I don't
You
even
love
know
the
how
air
to
points,
describe
though, eh? The status.
Yeah, I love the status points. Definitely a point shark.
Yeah. I definitely get pretty excited about traveling, but then immediately afterwards, I'm like, I don't want to do that for a really long time.
Yeah.
I don't know how those people travel continuously. Like some of the, there's normal business professionals, but then some of the sporting professionals who have to chase the World Series around, where it's like a lot of different nations and continents, would be extremely challenging.
Yeah, I mean, we both work with athletes that travel the world, like, all the time. Like, they are traveling a lot. And I know how I
crazy
feel.
amount.
I know how I feel traveling to visit family or to go to, trade shows and that. And I feel ruined. And I don't have to, wake up and perform, as an athlete. I have to, wake up and walk somewhere and then, talk to people or whatever. Or, sit down. And I'm still wrecked.
Yeah.
But they go there to train and perform.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, Kieran was just over, he did a 3-day adventure race in China. It's a 1 week sort of turnaround from in and out 3-day race back, and then we're back to Philippines and Korea and stuff. The week after that, and he's 2 weeks back from America. And that's why we sort of wanted to do this, because we have our systems down now, recommendations and specifically when athletes need to travel, how they need to travel within the same nation, within the same continent, across continents. So that's what we wanted to get into today. And but first off, anything in particular you've been up to, Matt, besides traveling on your birthday?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Like, when I booked the flights, I didn't realize I was crossing the international date line on my birthday. So I legit missed it. That was pretty cool. And I honestly didn't even realize until, I was, about to get on the plane. I was like, oh, crap. Yeah, I'm going to miss my birthday. But yeah, it was cool. We really capped off a really good month in North America. So I took one of my athletes and we were training and racing. We were in Canada and then we were in the States, and we did 6 races in 4 weeks, which that was a lot. And, he did some mega hours on the bike just preparing for the World Championships in August. And, it was pretty cool. He just did long, easy rides every day and then raced on the weekends, and he continuously got better. So it was super cool to show aerobic training, the value in it. And that should all pay off later. But happy to be back in New Zealand on the shortest day of the year. Got up nice and early this morning, did a road ride in the rain. So we're in winter, and it wasn't as nice as that month long of summer. But it's good to be back.
Yeah, that's cool. I saw, so Caleb won the last race, right?
Yeah, he won the last XC race. It was the U.S. Cup Junior Series on the East Coast. So they had 2 races back-to-back weekends, one in the West, one in the East. And he won the last race. And, he performed really well. Had some really good power output on every climb of the day. And he just kind of took control from the start and didn't look back. It was a really good performance.
Sweet, that's cool, man.
Yeah, how about you? What have you been up to?
Not a huge amount. Like you said, it's winter here. The days are shorter. It's colder. But I've been getting back into running, and it just blows my mind how much of a positive effect resting can have on everything. I finally, for the first time since just before the Rotorua Marathon, so almost 8 or 9 weeks, I felt like my old self. Felt super motivated, super light on my feet, really refreshed, and it's just been good to get back into that routine again, and diligently following my heart rate, like still having to walk up the hills a little bit. So it's although I feel great, like I still know where I stand. And then the endurance training hub's been moving forward, getting new members to signing up, and so there's the business side of things is moving forward. Bit hectic there, but overall having a great time.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been loving your endurance endurance. What's the name? I've honestly been loving it. The Endurance Training Hub. I've been loving it, and it's been like such an inspiration for me with Smart MTB Training, which is almost ready to launch. And even though I forget the name, like I definitely like it's super cool what you're doing. Like I think that's what people really want. They want a lot of information that they're not going to get anywhere else, and then training plans, and it's all in one place with an app and everything. And I'm looking forward to launching mine as well.
Yeah, and next week on the podcast, we're going to have the, computer programmer, founder of the platform that we leverage for our online memberships. So it's going to be super exciting to talk about like the business, really nitty-gritty advertising, social media of coaching, like the real behind the scenes of what we do just to get our information to you, because sometimes that is not the easiest with the Facebook, Instagram, YouTube algorithms without paying money. But anyway, today it's all about travel.
Travel, yeah. So I thought maybe a good way to start would be to talk about some of our own experiences with traveling.
Okay.
So do you want to start with that, Will?
Okay. So when I first started traveling for races, it was just within New Zealand, and whenever I travelled in the past, it was for a holiday. Like generally you just are travelling to switch off, and that was how I approached it. I travelled away for a race, and immediately my diet would go out the window. I'd just be staying up late, poorly prepared, not really well time managed, I guess, bad time management. We made a comment before, TCOB, taking care of business. That is exactly what I wasn't doing when I first started traveling. And from there, like I really started to understand traveling for a race is just like being at home until after the race. Before that, you have to, before the end of the race, you need to treat it just like you would if you were setting up for a big training session at home. So that was really my experience. And then obviously there's traveling overseas and transits and getting sick and just language barriers, the whole next level of organization and packing that you have to go through. But yeah, that was like that was the big takeaway really, is like it's not a holiday.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt?
I mean,
you're
I think
pretty fresh in your mind?
Yeah. I think, it's easy to get in holiday mode, and that's what we want to try and avoid, especially if we're traveling for an event or for training. But I didn't actually, I started racing when I was maybe 17 or 16, and we'd travel within the area, and there was a lot of driving, because in the States, like, you drive a lot. So when I was racing, we'd drive pretty much every weekend, quite a long ways. And I didn't do my first flight until I was about 18, and pretty much since then I'd kind of never stopped flying. I flew a lot within the States, and then before long I was doing a lot of international travel for bike touring. That was kind of one of my main things, and so I did a lot of that. And then obviously now that I live in New Zealand, I have family in the States, and I have athletes kind of everywhere, bounce around a lot for that kind of stuff, and also for a lot of trade shows. So I feel like I have it pretty dialed now, like trying to avoid like the big negatives that come alongside jet lag, which can just absolutely ruin you. Even if even if you have it sorted, you're gonna suffer from jet lag because it's horrible. So a lot of those things in packing, I feel like I have that pretty dialed now, just to kind of make things easier. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about this.
All right, that shows what kind of personality you have. All right, so the first point we have is what to pack. So that was the biggest thing for me. Like once I started getting more professional around traveling for races, was getting absolutely sorted. So when I was traveling, it was for triathlon. Obviously, you got quite a bit of stuff. You got the swimming, the biking, and the running. And the running generally takes care of itself, but the bike, there's always going to be something that goes wrong. Whether your gears don't change properly, you get a flat tire, you didn't bring any spare tubes. Like I was making all those mistakes. So around packing, I ended up printing out this list, and it was huge. That would be like my first recommendation is write those lists and go through each sport. So I'd sort of start with just the sport, like just the race. All right, if I'm in the swim, I need goggles, a cap, my tri-suit, wetsuit, and I had my own timing chip band. And then I'd do that for the bike. I need bike shoes, maybe socks, whatever. So that was what I did. And you can actually find a few lists online of like to make sure you've got things, because that's where you start to forget things like your race belt or your, if you have different sunglasses for running or different lenses on your visor and stuff. It's like just becomes quite overwhelming. Yeah. What about you, Matt? What did you want to talk about around packing?
Yeah. Honestly, I can't imagine packing for 3 sports. Like, I have hard enough time packing just for no sports when I travel.
Oh, you should try. Last year, we went to China to do a 4-day adventure race, and you're in a very foreign country racing for 4 days. There's 4 team members. So the potential and probability of something going wrong with your equipment is super high. And you've got kayaking, you've got abseiling, rope climbing, flying fox, mountain biking, running, orienteering. Like it's just endless. So, if you don't have a spare chain, you're not going to be able to, you're in the mountains of China, you're not going to be able to buy and go down to the local bike shop, buy another chain. And yeah, it was just, you'd want a lot of experience to go into those races, because otherwise you definitely forget stuff. And there's so many transitions. You need, multiple camelbacks and bladders and food and gels, multiple pairs of shoes even. That was next level. I'm glad I don't do that all the time as a profession.
Yeah, that'd be super hard. I think one of the things that I found when it comes to packing is like you only get so many bags that you can take. I'm thinking of flying.
Yeah,
right?
I think we should just talk about how much it sucks to travel with a bike.
Yeah. Traveling with a bike, especially a mountain bike, by the time you put it in your bike bag, which weighs 8 kgs, you're at your weight limit. So you chuck in your shoes and your helmet, and like you can't really put anything else in there unless you have the lightest bike ever. So if you're kind of on a budget, which when you're traveling a lot, you kind of need to be, you just need to pack the minimum. And that sounds like you're gonna arrive super unprepared, but if you pack only the things you need, you can pretty much fit everything and still be prepared. So for example, on this last trip that we did, we were away for a month. I took one bag, which was my bike, and then I had a carry-on. And in my carry-on, I had all of my clothes. I had my tools in with my bike and stuff like that. But I had my shoes and all my clothes and everything that I'd need for that month in a backpack, ready to go. And I really wasn't in need for anything once I got there. So it was all the heavy things that I thought I'd need, like tire sealant, spare tires, a few spare parts. I bought them ahead of time and had them shipped there to where I was staying, which was with my family, which was super convenient for me. But I packed 2 pair of pants. I only wore one of them. You know, like you don't need that much.
Yeah, that was a big learning curve for me, especially the first overseas travel. I was like, oh, I'm going to need this and this. And then now it's like, okay, I need 1 pair of shorts, like sort of dressier kind of shorts, 1 pair of pants, jeans or pants or something, and then like a casual shorts.
Yep.
And then you're good.
Yeah, yeah. And especially if you rock the merino, like you're going to be pretty good. You need like 2 merino shirts and like maybe, another nice shirt. And, the rest can be your kit. So I actually only took 1 pair of biking shorts, and I bought another pair when I was there because I needed them anyway. And then I took 3 tops, a long sleeve top, a short sleeve top, and then like a trail top. And yeah, I was pretty good. Like I used to make the hugest mistake when I was traveling and always take 2 bags. So if I was going away for 7 days, I'd take 7 kits. And, so I have like my bike in a hard case, and that thing weighed a ton, and it was probably over the weight limit. And then in my other bag, I had a blender, 7 kits, like 3 pairs of... I literally traveled with a blender, right? I did. Because, I just loved smoothies. So, like, I didn't really need to travel with the blender, but I did. And even when I was just doing a backpack. So by the time I realized I was overpacking, I was like, wait a minute. I can just wear the same kit, like, every day and just wash it at night. Wow. That's super minimalist if you have to. So, but when I switched to just a backpack, I could chuck my blender in the back, have my 1 or 2 kits, maybe a spare tire, which you definitely need when you're mountain biking, and you really don't need that much stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy when you actually figure out what you need. And like you said, you bought some bibs. Like I'd do that as well if I knew I was keen on some shopping, especially like training related kit. I just wouldn't pack one of those. I was going to buy a running singlet. I wasn't going to pack a running singlet and buy one. End up with too many. And I try and get like dual purpose clothing. So a singlet that was lightweight but still fashionable enough to wear around, but I could still run in it. So then I'm sorted.
I mean, so does that mean that you packed a lot of deodorant or what?
It's a singlet, man. It's like free reign.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
No, and and then just trying to stay on top of washing everything, which is generally easy enough to do, like unless you're in a tent. It is. Yeah, I've done a lot of like traveling, and sleeping in a tent, which it definitely makes things more difficult. But especially in the hygiene department, because like, what are you gonna do if you have like 2 kits? You need to pack your tent or whatever. You don't have that much stuff. But like it's super. Like if you're gonna shower, you find a place to shower. Like you can wash your clothes while you're showering. And in this past trip, we had super minimal kit, and we had an Airbnb. We got to the Airbnb. Sweet, let's do our laundry. No washing machine, and it was like a little bit, Caleb was a bit gutted because he's used to having a washing machine, but I was like, look, dude, just get some soap and wash your stuff in the sink. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's going to be super clean. And he was like a little bit, at first he was like, I don't know. And he did it, and, it was sweet. Like, we did that for 2 weeks in Canada, and we were fine. Absolutely fine. Didn't smell or anything. We got You may have become accustomed to it if you both stunk.
I mean, no one said anything. Like, if you're at an event anyway, like, especially if you're going, like, you show up to the event 2 days before.
Don't try and justify stinking.
Everyone smells. Everyone smells when you get there. If you're hanging out with athletes, like, they're all going to smell. You're going to smell. It's just how it is. Like, you stop noticing. If you're showing up and you're super muddy every day, and like your stuff like looks disgusting, like some people smell worse, right? But if you're like taking care of yourself and stuff like that, you're gonna smell just as bad as the next person, and it's not gonna be that bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on from from Matt's
Do you have
stench.
so do you have like a
What?
few things that you would consider necessities when you're traveling for yourself?
To what level? Like, obviously, there's clothes.
Yeah.
The main necessities are undies. Like, that's the one thing I don't want to skimp on or pack light. Like, I'll have at least 7 pairs.
Wow.
Because when you are traveling, generally you're cruising around, and like doing a lot of walking or sightseeing or training, and you're probably in a warm location. So then you'll be blowing through 2 pairs a day.
Wow.
Comfortably.
That's a commitment.
You got your daytime and then you got your evening. I like to stay fresh, Matthew. So
Well, I think it's easier for, bikers because when you're exercising, you're in your chamois, which, I'm not sure if you know this, but you don't wear undies with it.
Matthew, I know.
Yeah,
this.
okay. Yeah. So at least then, if you did maybe not pack enough undies, or maybe didn't wash them the night before, at least you didn't get sweaty in them as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, that's a definite necessity for me, is to have enough underwear, because you don't want to be skimping. Sometimes whatever you may have got home late, been out for dinner, and forgot to wash your gears. That's the one thing you don't want to put on dirty.
Undies.
Undies.
Yeah, I would agree with you. That's I guess that shows us what kind of person you are then. That's good. That's a good
Yes,
thing.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's my necessity. What about you?
Yeah. When I think about mountain bikers, what I think about is you definitely need a tool, and you definitely need a spare tire and a tube, and that stuff needs to be with your bike. That is just without a doubt. Travel with those because you're gonna need them. So your multi-tool needs to have everything you need to put your bike together, pack it down, and fix it in case you have a problem. And then always a hand pump as well because you're gonna get a flat tire. It's just gonna happen, and you need some way to fix it. So if you get to an event, it's easy to check your pressure on your tire. You just borrow it from someone else, right? That's if you can't pack a pump, just borrow someone else's or something like that. But you need a tool so you can put your bike together and stuff like that. But another tip that I really have, because there's been lots of times where I've seen people show up and their bike hasn't shown up or something like that. So what I always do is I pack my shoes, my riding shoes, and my pedals and my helmet within my carry-on. So that way if my bike gets
and
lost...
your helmet.
Yeah, because you're going to need your helmet. So if my bike gets lost, I can always, borrow someone else's or something like that, just to get in some training when I get there. Because you're going to need your own shoes. You're not going to borrow someone else's shoes. That'd be tough. I have done that before when I forgot one shoe and I had the other, so I had to borrow someone else's one shoe, which that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I always have that stuff in my carry-on, and you're definitely going to need different chargers for whatever country you're going to. So I always pack a different adapter for every country, and I make sure that I have that before I go. You need your passport, stuff like that, headphones, and I always take a sleeping mask and earplugs because you don't know where you're going to be able to sleep, when you're going to have to do it, and who's going to be making noise when you're there. So if you have those things, at least you can get some sleep. But we'll talk more about that in the sleeping section.
Yeah. Well, the next part, eating and drinking, leads into another one of my necessities. Now you've been talking about yours. Always a drink bottle.
Yeah.
Because you just don't... Hydration on the plane, if we're talking trans-Tasman, or not trans-Tasman, or that would be one, but also just overseas, you just get so dehydrated from those cabins.
Yeah.
And even just within, if most of our listeners are from New Zealand, so traveling around, it just takes forever to get anywhere. Even if the flight's 1 hour, you're going to have to drive somewhere, and the max speed, you can probably go on majority of the New Zealand roads 70 k's an hour because there's so many turns and camper vans. So if you're not hydrating, like you end up going the whole day without actually drinking something.
Yeah. I think that's super tough because one of the very worst things that you can do when you're like one of the very most, I guess it's something that makes me anxious is you get a window seat and then you got to keep getting up to go to the toilet.
Oh, it sucks.
It's
I hate
so
when
annoying.
when you're like 3 deep.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
People get annoyed. Like, so actually, every time I fly, I get the aisle seat. Like, I have that set up as my preference. Like, I'm taking the aisle seat. That way I can drink as much as I want. And I can be in control of when I get up. I don't have to, like, worry about annoying someone else because it just makes me anxious. And even though, like, I don't get annoyed if someone makes me get up, I feel like I annoy them by making them get up if that's the situation. So I just always want the aisle seat, and when I do that, I just drink as much as I can, and I go to the toilet like however many times I have to.
Yeah, drinking, man. I did 2 trips over like both to Europe, I think, or at least one 12-hour flight within a few months of each other. One, I was like completely neglected my diet and hydration, and the next one I didn't. Massive difference. I was just nowhere near as wrecked. Going to the toilet a lot, but then that helped me keep moving as well, like in terms of getting the blood going.
Yeah.
But then, what about the food and stuff?
Well, I just want to, like, because the reason we get dehydrated, just wanted to kind of talk about that, because, like,
Okay.
It's because you're breathing all that dried air. Like, so, like, the air that you're breathing is just kind of recycled air, and you kind of need to humidify it as you breathe in. So you're losing a little bit of moisture every breath that you take just to humidify the air that you're breathing in. And so we actually dehydrate faster when we're in a plane compared to, like, say, outside in like a humid environment. And because even though we're not moving around a lot, like we're still like we're kind of sweating because it's like either too hot or too cold or something like that. And yeah, it's that
Too cold.
I get so hot when I fly, like just absolutely
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be too cold.
Yeah, it's so yeah, we definitely need to stay hydrated. And you know, if you're hydrated, you can actually get over your jet lag faster because you don't actually feel like garbage when you get there. And you know, if you feel like garbage when you get there, you're going to want a nap, and that's just going to prolong some of your other issues. But then, yeah, as far as eating, it's really easy to get crap food at an airport. Or like,
oh man, and that goes with the holiday mode.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, I'm on the plane, especially if you got lounge access, you just smashing everything.
Yeah, that's right. I remember, like, because we used to drive a lot, like back and forth across the country in the van. So, you know, I'd go with friends or whatever, and, you know, we'd stop and get pizzas, and we'd stop and be like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. Like there's a Burger King, you want to go? Or like there's a convenience store, like, oh, I'll just get one of those sandwiches there so we can just keep driving. Like, I would always eat way worse when I was traveling to a race than how I would eat when I was at home. And I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I actually eat pretty well, but now here I am going to the thing that I trained so hard for, and now I'm like eating the worst food that I've had in months ahead of my big event. And that's when I kind of realized, like, I just need to pack my own food and be prepared. And you can do that on the plane or when you're driving, you know, just pack a couple sandwiches or something. Save money because you're not going to get a sandwich for less than like $10 at an airport.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be good. They're never good. It's going to be really, really dry, salty bread with like one piece of lettuce, half a piece of cheese, and like half a piece of meat. And it's just going to be horrible. You're not going to enjoy it, so bring your own, and it'll be good, and you get to control what's in it.
Yeah. That's same recommendations for me. And along that, talking about like necessities, packing food. So when I was traveling down to the Kepler Ultramarathon in Te Anau last year, so flying into Queenstown, the people we were traveling with laughed at me because we stop at the supermarket after landing, you know, to get proper food, get properly stocked up, and I whip out a recyclable bag. Like,
Wow.
that's how prepared I am.
That is
I
that's
know
really
I'm going
good.
to the supermarket, and I know I'm not paying for those plastic bags.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's a very good tip. I like that one.
But I would normally pack in those, like drawstring bags. Generally, you get them free in an event. They're really helpful to put in if you take a change of clothes. If you're traveling, from somewhere like New Zealand, Australia over to Europe, you got two like 10, 12-hour flights. You might change clothes. Just really easy to carry stuff where you buy some things. They pack super flat, and you can get in, the stuff that you need, that you don't want to maybe touch other stuff.
Yeah, and then on the way back, you put your dirty laundry in there, the stuff that still needs to be washed, and then when you get back, you're more organized.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
But yeah, eating, you work so hard for these events that you just need to take care of your diet and make sure you're eating what you normally would and you're trying to get proper meals. That's probably the biggest thing. When I've raced in China 3 times, and it is super hard to get proper meals. They don't have like your normal, meals at their convenience stores. They have everything other than normal meals, I guess.
I think normal's relatives. I mean, you might not be interested in blood pudding.
Western. So I've had to go to McDonald's, Burger King. I don't think they have Burger King over there. They had this one chicken place. It's sort of like KFC, called Dicko's. The place was legit.
It sounds like.
Although definitely not the best quality, I tried to get what I could and eat enough. That food is not really that filling in its just nature. So trying to get the most filling, like just chicken pieces. So it's like wherever that chicken came from, it's still got full of protein. It's not super high carb and salt. So something to at least get a proper meal that can set me up to then try and get something else. Otherwise, most of the time you're traveling, you're like, oh, I'll just have a little bit now and a little bit, some more chocolate, some more Powerade and all that kind of junk. Powerade is the alternative to Gatorade.
Poor people's Gatorade. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's kind of my recommendations.
Yeah.
To eat proper meals, pack what you can. Sometimes you obviously can't pack full meals, but raw, unsalted nuts, they're good ones. Protein bars I use to at least satiate yourself, so you're not just continuously eating.
Yeah. One of the things that I really like to do is, because when we're traveling, we might be going for an event, but to me, it's all about the experience. And part of the experience for me is sampling the local foods. So for me, I like to be really flexible with what I eat. Just so I can get more out of the experience. I'm not going to eat something that maybe looks dodgy, and you can definitely do harm to yourself by eating something say you're in a third world country and you eat a fresh veggie that has been washed with contaminated water. You don't want to do that kind of stuff. But to me, I like to sample those local cuisines, and I like to be super flexible with what I eat. So I'm gonna pretty much try anything.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Well, you don't want to wait till after the race?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking of you in China. Maybe you missed out on some food?
No, definitely didn't, because they supplied all the food at the race hotel. We had access to no other food. So it's pretty much you eat what we give you or you don't eat at all.
Yeah.
So definitely sampled plenty of local cuisine. But then I was targeting not the salads, but the boiled vegetables, where you could see in the hot plate the bok choy is still bubbling away, the rice and the meats that are clearly cooked. No idea what they are, but they're cooked.
Yeah.
As opposed to Yeah, like the stuff on the stick that's like still pink.
Yeah, yeah. I've had some of them, and I have had like really bad experiences. Well, I've had one really bad experience with food poisoning, um, abroad. But then I've also had a really bad experience with food poisoning in New Zealand too.
In Rotorua, was
Yeah,
it?
yeah. So like, that one was my own fault actually, because I was eating chicken that was sitting in my car for 2 days, and it was really hot. But like, to me, like food poisoning, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, and being careful, you know, well, in one case it would have saved me, in the other case, maybe it wouldn't have. But yeah, like, I guess like you're gonna need to eat, and stressing about getting the right things all the time is too difficult. So it's about making sure that you are eating. And if all you have is local food to eat, you're gonna get an experience, and you're gonna get the food that you need.
Yeah, as long as you do due diligence on what you're eating. If you're in the outback of Australia, right, like right in the deep outback, and they've got fresh fish from the ocean,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna probably give it a pass, hard pass on the fresh fish in the outback. Like you can be smart about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've definitely eaten some weird things. Probably one of the weirdest ones was when I was bike touring throughout Southeast Asia, and I bought some hard-boiled eggs, and they weren't actually like eggs. They were fully developed chicken embryos, called balut, I think it is. And I was super hungry, and I had to eat something.
So gross.
And I didn't really like the texture of it, but yeah, I ate a couple, and then I just left the others. I felt really bad about it, but yeah, you definitely get some funny experiences when it comes to food in places that you're not used to. But gotta eat.
Yeah, you gotta eat, and you can't be super fixated on what it is.
Yeah, like if you're vegan,
like-
this is my number one tip for vegans, and this is coming from 7 years of being vegan. When you're traveling, you're not vegan anymore. Okay, that is my number one tip.
Vegans, classic.
Yeah, my number one tip for vegans traveling abroad is you're not vegan once you leave your country, because you're just gonna end up. It's gonna be super difficult, and you'll probably end up not getting enough food, unless you like know the local language, or know what you're looking for. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. So if we transition out of we've got sort of the packing, eating, drinking, sleeping.
Yeah, sleeping. It's impossible to get a really good sleep sitting cattle class on an international flight, or like any flight. Like when you're jam packed like that, sitting upright, you can't recline your chair. You're not going to get a good sleep.
Yeah, and even if you think, you've smashed a few sleeping pills and you lax back, sleeping pills are a form of sedation, so it's a different style of sleep. You don't enter into deep sleep, I think it is, either deep or REM. So one of the restorative sleeps, or cycles of sleep, is completely bypassed, because you haven't actually fallen asleep, you've just sedated yourself to the point at which you are able to lose consciousness, I guess. So it's not a restorative sleep that you are getting. Even if you have not been conscious the whole entire flight, doesn't mean that you're necessarily getting, your standard 8 hours you'd get at home.
Yeah, that's a good tip, actually. So how do you get around that?
Me, sleep well leading into it, try my best to sleep on the plane where I can, and for the most part just travel early enough that, so when I say travel early, I mean that I'm going to get to, if it's an overseas race, the race or the race venue with enough time to sleep leading in, or booking like airport hotels. It's like if I'm getting there late, it's like I'll just take a hit for a, whatever it can be, maybe up to $100 extra than trying to push on to your destination it's like, well, then I can just immediately sleep. Like it's really positive. And then traveling around like New Zealand as well, you can still get too excited and trying to be catching up with people, have poor time management, end up not getting to bed in time. I know when I did my first ultra marathon, like I didn't realize just the level of organization that was required for my like 4 drop bags. I needed to figure out all my nutrition, all my gels, all my different shoes and socks, because it was really poor weather, different kit. It was like ticking everything off, because as soon as I dropped them in the morning, they were gone. So I didn't get to bed till like 11 o'clock before my first ultra marathon. It's just so unorganized.
Yeah, but stressing about it probably would have done worse for you. So you just sometimes you just need to do what you got to do. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it helped me. Like, I was obviously super worried about running 100 kilometers, the furthest I'd ever run by about 2 times. So it did help keep my mind at ease. And I was probably just rechecking and checking just for the sake of it. But, that's you can miss out on sleep wherever you're traveling.
Yeah, to me, sleep is super important. And I think we talked about this before. Like, I always aim to get at least 8 hours of sleep every night. I definitely do that, and sometimes more. So to me, when you're traveling to an event, like, it's more about what you do chronically than what you do for one night, like on your way to an event. So
it's my saying, Matt, it's not what you do some of the time, it's what you do all the time.
Yeah, and that's right, and that definitely has to do with sleep. So if you're stressing really bad about like going on a flight and missing out on a night's sleep, don't stress about that. It is what it is. You're not going to sleep well on the plane. Get on local time as soon as you can. So that is my number 1 tip for getting over jet lag, because there's really no avoiding jet lag, and I've definitely struggled with jet lag a lot before. So like, you just need to get on local time as soon as possible. And that is my number 1 tip. That way you can get back into your routine, right? So you go to bed when it's bedtime locally, you wake up when it's time to wake up locally, and you do that right away. And sometimes it means staying up even longer when you arrive, but then you're extra tired, you get a full night's sleep, proper night's sleep, and you can get on your routine faster.
Yeah, the routine is so key. Like, there's something I implement just locally as well. Like, just trying to get the same kind of foods at the same kind of times, so that it doesn't become, you don't have to then have an active thought about that kind of stuff. It's like, oh yeah, I'm having eggs for breakfast. That's what I do. This is how I do it. Have coffee. Like, it's all super smooth. And then you can, whereas if you already are having to be actively thinking, there's more energy draining like throughout the day and more time consuming. So if you can try and set everything up so it's like just the same as what you'd normally do, try and train, like do your lead-in tapering training, same sort of times, and it's all it all just gets you back on track with that one hiccup of the travel.
Yeah, so get that travel stuff out of the way as soon as possible, and you're in your routine and you're good to go, really. It takes, I guess the saying is, it takes one day, like one full day, to get over every hour of time zone that you change. So if you're flying to the States, it's like, I think of it as like an 8-hour difference usually, even though it's 16 hours difference. So like, it takes about 8 days to get on local time, and it kind of really does. But you need to stay focused on actually getting on that local time, and with your meals and everything, and your sleeping especially.
Yeah. So then we get into organization, and we've sort of been touching on that, but there's a few points we identified around like being organized in terms of timing, unpacking your transits and your flexibility. I guess the first one is around the organization is those timing and transits, right?
Yeah, like, you're gonna lose a day, no matter like where you're traveling. If it's like a distance to go, like, you're gonna have to wake up, you're gonna have to pack your vehicle, then you're gonna have to either go to the airport or drive in your vehicle. and kind of no matter where you're going, especially in New Zealand, like it's going to be a day. And a lot of times, if it's like maybe only a 4 or 5 hour drive, you can still do your training either before is probably best, or once you get there, which is usually important to like check out a course or something like that. But like having everything kind of ready to go for yourself is going to be super key, so that way you can just get straight into it.
The timing is so important. Most people don't understand the full extent of the time required to travel. They might look at just the flight or just the transit time. It's going to be a 5 hour drive. But there's just everything takes so much longer.
Yeah.
If there's registration, if there's briefings, if there's going out for dinner or getting food from the supermarket, cooking, like it all just seems to take so much time that it's a day easily.
Yeah. A good case in point is my recent trip back to New Zealand. Our flight didn't leave until 4 p.m. I was like, sweet. We have like all day to like get in a ride, relax, pack everything, drive to the airport, and then I like look at the timing that we need to have. Okay, I actually need to be at the airport at 2 o'clock, which means I need to leave the house at noon, which means I need to have the car packed before noon. And when am I going to fit in my ride, breakfast, shower, packing? I had to wake up super duper early to get in my ride because I really wanted to get a ride in. Like, it was the last day I was there. I really wanted to get some exercise in before I sat on a plane forever. So, I was up at 5, did a ride, packed everything, and I was still rushing around trying to get everything done. And even though I didn't fly out until 4 p.m., like there was just so many things that had to happen to even get to that flight in time that I just needed to wake up early, and I did as much as I could the night before, as far as packing most of my clothes and stuff. And then I'm packing there before we get in the car, and I still forgot stuff at the house, so I have to have that stuff shipped. So just as organized as I was, like getting everything together, like I still, forgot things. And it's just super easy to do, and just because things take so much time, so you definitely need to allow extra time.
Yeah, and around that, I've travelled to races with, I don't know what to call them other than newbies. So people who aren't that experienced in the race that they're doing, whether it's a triathlon or the case that I'm thinking of is last year at the ultra marathon. This guy had never done an ultra marathon before, and so he's going through like, should I put this in my bag? Should I put this in my bag? So we were already just soaked up like an hour and a bit just trying to figure out like if he had brought the right kind of stuff to put in his bag. And so then he starts to worry about like, do I have enough stuff? Do I need to go get some more things? Because it's sort of like, he was like, I'll sort that out when I get there. Not really understanding like this is the day before the race. And it requires a lot more sort of forethought than he probably thought. So that would be one is to check out like what are you going to need like around that packing and stuff, but also what is your race are you actually prepared for your race? Because you don't want to be doing that while you're there. You actually want to be relaxing.
Yeah, like you need to know what your timetables are, like when you need to be where, and that just gives you like extra time to relax once you're actually there. And
it's a huge performance enhancer. Like being able to relax before an event is massive energy boost. Whereas if you've gone in, and I don't want to say underprepared, but just not as well organized, you'll be active all day.
Yeah.
Like before, potentially, if you're traveling, it's probably one of the biggest races of your year, and all day, either 2 days before, like the 2 days before, or just the day before, if you've left it a bit later, you're just going to be maybe in the heat of the day, just traveling around trying to get registered, check your bikes in, check your gear, do your exercise, wash your kit, like all of this kind of stuff. get some food, and it's like then someone else who's done it before or has pre-thought about everything is just chilling.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, like, that goes alongside, like, the very number one key to, traveling a lot, and that's flexibility. So something is going to go wrong. Like, it is guaranteed, no matter how prepared you are, no matter how many timetables you've made, how many lists you've made, there's how many, like, where you're going to get your food, what you're going to eat, something's still going to go wrong. Like, you can definitely 100% count on that. Something's going to go wrong. So that's where you need to be really flexible in kind of working a problem, right? So instead of stressing, like, say your friend that you traveled with who is underprepared and they're stressing about, packing or whatever, you need to soak up that relaxation time that you have. And when something goes wrong, you need to just work the problem, not stress it, stay relaxed, and stay focused on what you need to do, and just think about the important things. And control what you can control, so that way when that thing goes wrong, you're mostly okay.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of this time we were heading to the Wellington Marathon, my wife Emma and I, and we stopped in at McDonald's to get our coffees, and she wasn't having dairy at the time.
Vegan.
And, pardon?
Vegan.
Nah, definitely not vegan.
For our North American listeners, McDonald's in New Zealand actually has good coffee. Just want to put that out there.
Oh, yeah, it's like McCafe.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I get my small flat white. Emma gets her long black. Cruising off. And allowed for plenty of time driving there. And I was like, this is disgusting. They've burnt it. It's so hot. And it tastes so burnt. Emma's like, mine is amazing. I don't know what you're on about. So we're driving there, drinking. We get there, plenty of time spare, just having a yarn about our upcoming marathons, pacing strategies and stuff. And I was like, I just can't even drink it. She's like, well, I finished mine. You ready? And I was like, wait a minute. Opened it up. So I had the long black and she had just smashed a flat white, having not had dairy in like months, and for lactose-based reasons, which some people may be able to identify with, before a marathon. So she's like, oh no. Super stressed. It ended up being completely fine. But, you can be as prepared, but something like that is just gonna come straight at you.
Yeah. Guaranteed something's going to go wrong. So, hopefully she didn't stress it too much and the race still went okay.
It went well. It's a bit over 3 hours or something. So I think it was her first and only road marathon.
Cool. Sounds painful.
It is. Yeah, you should do one.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on my running training plan from you. So we'll have to...
It's in the endurance training
hub.
There's a whole bunch of training plans. Just apply it to your calendar.
I was looking at it. Yeah. I was thinking about it because, especially since I spent so much time riding over the last few months, I was like, it'd probably be good, because this is something I do with my athletes. I'm like, okay, why don't you do something else for a little bit? Like, that's pretty good for you. So I should probably, do that for myself as well. So maybe it's time.
Yeah, we'll share the story, share the journey. All right, Matt.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good on travel. Like, there's always, everyone has their own system. And, this is just a few tips that we've learned over the year. There are people that travel more than us. And, I'm sure they have some tips. So,
yeah, send them in.
Yeah, send us some tips too so we can share them with everyone else.
And, yeah, because part of what we want this podcast is to be like a learning reference. Like, oh, they've got one on travel. Cool. So there's a lot of people listen every single week who have listened every single week since the beginning.
That is awesome.
From episode 1. Yo, shout out to you guys.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
The heroes.
And then the people who are just new, welcome and thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. Well, that will do us for travel. Okay. So I'll catch you
next
week with Cam.
Yep.
From Training.
I'm excited for it. We'll see you then.
Yeah, and shout out to Rob, man. I think your podcast from last week is the most popular. Yeah. So I think guests are more popular than we are, Matt.
Yeah. So what does that say about us?
I don't know. I like to justify it in that they just potentially have, some of their audience listening to them, which is then on top of our audience, makes it appear like they're more popular.
Yeah. You tell yourself that.
All right, thanks, Matt. I'll catch you next week.
See ya.